too much. Can't make sense anymore. Clearly a bad joke. With me down on the floor. With me down on the floor. It's all a gorgeous ride. Take a second to look. Take a second to feel. Swear you'll be hooked. It's all a gorgeous ride. Take a second to look. Take a second to feel.
Hello everybody, this is Laurie Smith on Spreaker. I'm glad to be here. Let's Take a Second by Point Claire. And that's a good tune. Unfortunately the sound isn't that great. I hope that my streaming is okay. And for some reason the music isn't streaming properly. But yeah, glad to be here. Just wanted to do another show, and haven't done a show on Spreaker for a while, and I've been extremely busy, and then I got really sick and had like a flu bug and a cold, and been busy working and busy studying and doing all kinds of stuff. So but I really wanted to talk tonight and just chat a little bit, and just been sitting around thinking, and I'm starting another book, and this is book number 4, and all my books, like all the profits, go to not-for-profit organizations who are out there working to stop child abuse, especially. That's my main interest, really, my main goal. I don't want the money for my books, and so all the profits are going to to different charities that throughout the year that promote education and prevention of child abuse, right? So I'm starting another book, and that's always gets me thinking, about the issues. I'm always thinking about it anyway, because it's always on the back of my mind. And I think it's just because everything triggers me, the word mother triggers me. Somebody talks about their mother, I immediately think about my mother. Somebody talks about anything that relates to anything I went through as a child, it just automatically goes there. It's always sitting on my mind. And it's because I choose to not forget it. I choose to remember. And I do that on purpose so that I can make a difference in this life while I'm still here. To try to be one more voice out here, and one more person standing up and speaking out against child abuse. No one deserves to be abused. That's the name of this show here tonight. And no one deserves to be abused. Not ever. No man, no woman, no child deserves to be abused. It's not something that people should be okay with. It's not something that society should be okay with. It's not something that anyone should think, oh well, too bad. Well, too bad for them. It's like, this is really horrific. And I guess the reason it sits so heavy with me is because I've experienced it. So I know how serious this is, when people are slamming people's heads into the walls, or children's heads into the walls, and damaging them and sexually using them. I mean, this is absolutely horrific, and verbally abusing them and psychologically abusing them. Like, this is so wrong. Like, no one deserves to be abused. I don't care who it is. So I fight and stand up really for all human rights, and that's just who I am. I figure I only got one life, so I may as well use it doing something productive, you know what I mean? That's not just all about me, sort of thing, right? That's not just for my own, desired outcomes, you know what I mean? Like, whether it's material things or, the great career or whatever it may be. Those are all good to have, but there's so many other issues that are just so much more important out there that I don't mind, speaking out about. And so, thanks everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody who's tuned in and listened to my shows. And I do a lot of shows on Blog Talk Radio, and I've been back on there for just recently, actually. Just started getting back into doing shows on Blog Talk Radio, and I do a lot of shows there. I've done like 900 shows of my own, and about 600 other shows from other different Blog Talk Radio shows. So I've done about 1,500 shows over the last couple of years, about 3 years really. It's a lot of shows, and some I would do like 2 per day. This is talking about the issues of child abuse prevention, and domestic violence, and just all the issues that surround it. And so, yeah, I appreciate everybody who's taking the time to listen, and my stuff is really graphic. Everything I talk about, everything I write about is really graphic, and I'm talking about the true reality of what it is, what is abuse, It's not, it's not a topic for people who are sensitive. It's not a topic for children. So anyone under the age of 18, 18 and under, I would ask that you would have permission and have an adult listen to my shows with you. And you're on Spreaker or anywhere where I'm talking, Blog Talk Radio, or even my books. My books have discretionary warnings on them as well. It's the ones that need to have it on there. So, I do appreciate the support. This is all about making a difference in this world before at some point I leave this earth. We all have to go at some point. And I just started doing this advocacy work and speaking out publicly in 2007. Really, was when I really started getting busy. But it was sort of active from 2006, I would say, or 2005 on. So it's been a few years, but I just thought, what do I have better to do with my free time? I could be cleaning the house or something, or I don't know. I'd rather do something to try to make a difference while I'm here, to help people and to help change the situation. So, yeah, no one deserves to be abused. That's a serious topic, like, people just, it's really sad. I was thinking about it today because, as I said, I'm starting to write my book. I just started it. And, it's book number 4, and as when I do write books, it has to come naturally. Like, I can't sit down and force the stuff to come. It just has to be what needs to be said at the time. So I generally am in a different frame of mind when I'm writing. And I was thinking, no, there isn't anybody on this planet that deserves to be abused, and especially children. People like to make up all kinds of excuses. Oh, well, it was a bad child, or look at that kid, he or she is misbehaving and deserves to be abused, or deserves to be disciplined, right? That word, I hate that word. But, because it's just garbage. And, kids need direction. They need training. And sometimes they need, to have some limitations and boundaries set so that, because they're going to need to learn. They have to be taught right from wrong. But not beaten and burned and stabbed and mutilated and kicked around, thrown out of the house and called names and made to feel lesser than, or any of those things. You know what I mean? Like, no child deserves that. They couldn't do anything wrong enough to deserve that. Like, no human being deserves that. But yet our society is just so twisted and so evil, and there's people out here that think this stuff is okay. Like, the people just think, oh, well, get over it. Yeah, you should, get over it. Now, this, it could be any situation. A woman showing up at showing up bruised and beaten in a domestic violence assault, or even a man, for that matter. Or a child showing up to school abused, And for the most part, people don't care. Unless you go to the right place and you get the right help that you need, most people really don't care. And it's because they can't put themselves in for instance, my place. People can't put themselves into my place, or even at the time when I was being abused, wouldn't be able to put themselves into my place, into my shoes, to see what it's like to be abused, right? Consistently, and continually beaten down. You know what I mean? In every way. And so it's hard for people to wrap their minds around it, I think. And I think that, and that's really no fault of their own if they've never experienced it or haven't been around it. They wouldn't, they see stuff on TV and they may see a show about domestic violence or something. Most people are really attracted to that stuff. People in our society are very attracted to violence and, things like that. But only as long as it's on TV. Because then it's not real, but it's exciting. People find that kind of stuff exciting. They like to watch violence on TV, and they don't even cringe when they see somebody beating somebody up, or see somebody beating up a woman, or see somebody beating up another guy, or somebody trashing anybody. Sometimes if there's a child abused, people will be like, oh, that's, they might say something there, but not generally. People just like to watch that stuff because it's on TV. But I don't watch that stuff because I lived it. So like, I know what it's like to be that child getting my head slammed into the wall, or being beaten on, or called names, or thrown out of the house, or whatever. Like, I know what that's like. So for me, that's just reality. It's not fake pretend TV with actors dressing up playing the parts, right? I know what it's like to see other people getting beaten on and having their heads slammed into the walls for real. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And it's a scary situation. It's deadly. It's dangerous. And people just think that, oh, well, it's on TV, so it's not real. It doesn't really affect people. They like to watch it. It's exciting for them to think about that stuff. And for people who have lived it and experienced it, it's scary. And the issue is that, especially for children, and anybody whose life is being threatened, you it's a very scary thing. And so, it's not funny, right? And there's so many people out there that just think it's no big deal. Oh, well, get over it. It's like, okay, you get over it. You get over something like that. That's that whole PTSD, like traumatic syndrome. You know what I mean? Trauma, right? But it's hard to get over it. I know that people can. I know that people do, and I've come like a huge long way in my healing journey. But the thing is it's damaging, and to children who are continually abused and neglected in any way. If it just keeps going on and on and on, those are the brainwaves and the memories that are going to be burned into their brains. And unless you go into denial, or you go into or you split off and tuck it away neat and nice and safe down somewhere inside where you don't have to think about it, it stays with you. I just choose to remember. I do that on purpose. And people would say, well, why would you want to do that? That's torturous. Well, it actually is, because it was torture to me. To be abused like that was torture to my body, to my mind, to my soul, to my spirit. I think about it all the time, because I'm studying biblical studies, and I'm a Christian. So, I think about evil all the time, evil and good, because the contrast is so, visible. So everybody knows, you know what I mean? Everybody knows what it is to not be, but to do good. Everybody knows what it is to do evil, right? And like, I like to drive home the point, especially with my writings and what I'm doing out here publicly talking about this stuff. Mostly in my writing, I really like to reflect the evil, twisted, perverted, heinous acts that people do to other people, or that were done to me by my abusers, because there's no other word for it. It's evil, right? And that's disgusting, depraved, evil stuff. And there's people out there that love that. They think it's great, Well, my parents did, because they obviously lived this lifestyle and created a hell for us growing up, me and my siblings. I'm the last of 7. And, people, I guess I just like to paint a picture so that people can see, what that's really like. It's not just on TV. Like, this is a reality for so many people. And that's the problem. And for so many children. It's a real reality, It's a nightmare. And if it goes on, for 6 months, well, I mean, that's 6 months of hell for someone, If it goes on a year or two, that's a year or two of hell for someone that they will never probably forget. And if they do, it'll be because they've probably had some really intense therapy, or split off and actually, just tuck it away and don't deal with it, right? It's extremely hard to come out from underneath of something like that, and especially when your soul is murdered, and that's really what it does. It just murders the soul of a person. It murders their spirit, murders their core being. It's not just the abuse against a body, or physical abuse, which is horrible, or anything physical, to a person or to a child. I mean, that's bad. That's bad enough, But it's what it does to the core psyche, because that will never ever change. My personality. I mean, I was talking about this on my other show here on Blog Talk Radio not too long ago. That my children's personalities are pretty well formed. By the time they're 5 years old, or even younger. So the stuff that I witnessed and was put through as a child, that's who I am. So it's hard for me to cope as an adult living with that kind of stuff, and it's hard for anyone. I mean, I've met lots and lots of people who are survivors of different types of abuse, whether it's domestic violence, or maybe they weren't treated really well as children, but had a great childhood and everything, and loving parents and everything, but end up in these horrible marriages or situations with partners and stuff. And then there's others who were abused as children and then abused as adults in a domestic violence situation with their partners, right, husband or wife or whatever. And that's a hard situation. You know what I mean? It's hard for people to overcome this stuff. And for me, I guess it sits on the back of my mind all the time. I mean, I know I was abused. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to forget that. I don't know how anybody could. It is who I am. The thing is that I like to be a bit of encouragement to people out here, even though most of my shows are pretty much of a downer. That you have to find what it is within you that makes your purpose for being here worthwhile. And from my point of view, the only thing I could think of doing when I finally decided that I did want to live and I didn't want to kill myself, and that I really did want to try to get help and to move on in this life instead of continually wanting to end my life. I just, I thought I have to have a purpose. There has to be a reason for me to be here. Well, I know I wasn't put here just to suffer. I know I wasn't put here just to be beaten on and sexually used as a child. That's just something that evil, twisted people decided to do to me. They just happen to be my family members, right? But it's really unfortunate. That never should have happened. That was their choice to do that to me, and so that's why I titled this show, that no one deserves to be abused, and definitely not. It's not our fault. That was done to me. I didn't. It's like I can't change that. I can't go back and change that. No one can go back and change that stuff. It's done. What's done is done. And so, and then you have to decide. Okay, so if that's the case, then what is it gonna take for me to change the way that I feel about myself in order to go forward? And for me, I'm a Christian, so it was pretty well obvious what happened to me. I had a transformation of heart, my whole life was changed around. But for other people that may not be the case, because I had a problem with God for forever until 2005, which I don't talk a whole lot about here on Spreaker, but I do talk about it a lot on Blog Talk Radio and as well in my books and stuff. But it's whatever a person finds within themselves, that they can use as a proof positive to say, what? Yeah, this is the reason that I'm here. It wasn't to be a punching bag. It wasn't to be abused and sexually used or whatever way a person was abused, as a child or even or as an adult. That's not it. You know what I mean? So I thought, well, what can I do, with my time left that I have here on this planet, that I would feel would sort of make me victorious over what I suffered as a child. And I thought, the best thing I could probably do is speak out and tell the world what my abuser, evil, twisted family did to me. You know what I mean? Regardless of whose feelings it hurts, or there's a few family members left. There's not very many people left in my family. Everybody's pretty well died off, or killed themselves, or was murdered, or whatever. But there's only a couple people left. But the thing is the ones that are left, I really don't care if it hurts their feelings, because truth is truth. And the whole issue around child abuse, especially child abuse, is no one wants to admit the truth of child abuse. No abuser wants to admit that they're abusing a child. Some will. My mom used to say, "Oh, I don't care. It's my right. I brought you in this world." And of course, many parents say that. I brought you in this world. I'll take you out. Now, I know that's pretty common for parents to say. Sad thing is, though, is that my mother meant it. She backed it up with physical abuse. So in other words, she could have killed me if she wanted to. There was a couple of beatings that I took from her that were pretty serious, and she could have killed me. A couple more blows, and that would have been it. And I was praying for it. I was wishing for it. I was like, go ahead and kill me. I was 10 years old, 8 years old. I didn't care. I was like, at one point, 13 years old. I was like, just kill me. I don't care. Get it over with. Bash my brains in. I really don't care. I was so tired. I was tired from the day I was born because of this abuse, right? That just kept on and on and on. And so, for me, I decided, I don't care whose feelings it hurts. Nobody cared that they hurt my feelings. Like my parents didn't care that they hurt my very core existence and wanted to kill me, and didn't even want me to live. Like my mother, well, I was born a rape child, right? I mean, it's marital rape, but still it's rape. And my mother hated my dad, and so it was a horrible situation. But anyway, this is a long story. So, I mean, I was not wanted. I was made, and I was told that, and there was no comfort. There was no comfort for me and my family. It was all abuse, and that even my siblings were abusing me because they were abused, and they were watching my parents abuse me, and so they were abusing me too. And some physically, and some emotionally, and some verbally, right? I had 6 brothers and sisters, right? So they all had their different ways of working their evil too, right? And the issue is that that's what a lot of times what will happen within large families, especially if there's abuse. The siblings don't often come together as a unit and say, well, we got to stick together because we're being abused. Actually, there's 2 of my siblings that actually did. 2 of my brothers actually stuck together pretty close. The rest of everybody else was just out to get the other one, and because there was a lot of abuse, so everybody was being abused. So it's kind of like as long as the other person was being abused, then they wouldn't be abused, right? So it's kind of like, let's get the other guy in trouble so we aren't abused. It was kind of that sort of thing, always out to get each other sort of thing. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's the way it goes in a lot of families. But it's just the issue that I didn't care if by going public if it hurt my family's feelings, because the remaining members, because they did not care what happened to me, and they still don't, because they think it was okay what happened to me. There's people out there that think that it's okay to abuse people. That's why I titled the show "No One Deserves to Be Abused," because one of my siblings thinks that it's just fine to abuse people, and there's another one of my siblings that thinks that it was just fine what my dad did to my mother, which was to rape her and to physically assault her and to hurt her, and one of my siblings thinks it's fine. That's just and dotes on my dad, who's still alive. I mean, I think he's still alive. I don't know. I haven't heard any news or anything. But the thing is it's wrong. It's wrong what they did. So I thought, what greater victory is there for me after coming out from being battered and sexually abused and verbally assaulted on a regular basis and thrown out of the house and spit on and beat on and cursed at? What better victory for me is there than to speak out publicly against abuse? Because that makes my remaining family members angry, because they have to face it then. It makes them face the abuse. It's reality in their face, because they know it happened. They were there. And the issue is we used to talk about it a long time ago, back in the old days when we were all younger and still hanging around. And we used to say it was real sad what happened to my brothers, because 2 of my brothers killed themselves. Our brothers, right? 2 of our brothers killed themselves, and we were all kind of on the suicidal verge because my parents were suicidal, right? And they set it up for us that we should all just kill ourselves. We should all die, or they should kill us. My dad was always talking about killing us, and he tried a couple times. And one time he tried to drive me and my sister over a cliff in his car. So then my mom wouldn't let us drive with him anymore without her in the car. But my mother was always trying to kill us too. Beating us with heavy objects and smashing our heads in, and just an incredibly violent woman. And but my dad was an incredibly violent man, and so the 2 of them, they wanted to destroy us because they hated each other. And so I grew up in hatred. And that's really why, I talk a whole lot about that, because I want people to know it's not just like this thing on TV where you see a 20-minute episode of some sort of violence on TV. Like, this is like when children are being abused, it's a horrible situation because they're not getting what they need. They're not getting the basics in life. They're not getting comfort. They're not getting love. They're not getting taken care of. They're being physically abused. They're being tortured. And if this goes on and on and on, I mean, and it kills children, like every day. If it doesn't kill them physically, it'll kill their spirit. It'll kill them. And there's so many people out there that, I mean, may have not even experienced physical abuse, but the verbal and the psychological, emotional abuse, that will kill you. Just it's all the same. It's intent and purpose of that evil, twisted, depraved, twisted action of abuse, it kills people. So I'm a walking dead person. And I remember the day that I actually realized I was dead, because I told my mother I was 10 years old and my mother had just beaten the shit out of me and rearranged my face, and blood was all over the living room and all over, not the living room, my bedroom walls, my clothes, her clothes, was everywhere. And I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and my face didn't even look like me. I was 10 years old, and I remember I went out and I told her, I said, I'm dead anyway, you may as well just kill me. Just kill me. I don't care. So then it got me another beating, but the thing is I realized at that point that I had died, or that I was dead. So I was a walking shell, really, probably before that, but I realized it at the age of 10. And so that's why I decided, I thought, you know what, I only have so much time left. I'm not keeping this stuff to myself, because I hope that I can help other people to realize that, hey, you know what, I'm still here, I did not kill myself. 2 of my brothers killed themselves. They lived in the same home I did. They were abused and beaten, and one of them was my abuser, who sexually abused me. The other one was just a chronic, they were both chronic drug users. They were, one was a cocaine addict, and the other one was pop pills all the time, and he was always overdosing and stuff, and he had a lot of brain damage. And the 2 of them had a lot of brain damage, but they were both abused by my dad horrifically. And my mom used to abuse them too, but mainly it was my dad with my 2 brothers. And they killed themselves. Yeah, they wanted out, and they killed themselves. They did not make the right choice. And so, in 2005, it just so happened to be 2005. I just bring up the date so people will know. It's 2012, and I'm still here, and I haven't even thought about. Well, I've thought about it, because I do think about it actually all the time. But it's not something that sits there that I want to do anymore, which is to take my life. Now I'm like, no, I've got a purpose, I've got a mission, I've got something I have to do. And that is, before I leave this planet, from natural causes or whatever takes me out, because it won't be me, I'm going to do as much damage to abusers as I can to stop child abuse, and to help other people, to realize, like, man, you have to find something within you that allows you to get some help. What helped me out when I first started coming out with my story publicly, because I really had never even thought about doing that, until I hit the age of 43 or 44. And I got involved with an online group for survivors, and it was anonymous. Like, you could go on, you don't even have to tell them your real name. And this way, if you're trying to, for privacy reasons, for protection for yourself or your family, if the abuser's still out there and maybe still trying to get you or something, you can go on as an anonymous person. Don't have to use your real name, and you can talk to people and get help who have been through the same thing, and who understand where you're coming from, and why the pain is so bad and why it hurts so bad. Because other people that haven't been abused don't really understand how much pain a person can be internally, inside, in their heart and in their spirit and their soul. I was in hell, literal hell. And I'm not that far removed from it. I still know what it's like to be there, And so, that's why I just think, what can I do to try to help people? And it's just to be a message, a voice of hope for people. You have to find whatever it is within you that allows you to get some help. And if you can't get help, then do some self-help, which I did a whole lot of. And make sure that you find something that you can be victorious over what happened to you. Do not allow this to destroy you. Keep on going, and don't ever give up. Have a great night, everybody. Talk to you real soon.